Hey guys, it's Meg and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm setting up my bullet journal ready for December and let's just get into it. I'm so excited to be setting up my bullet journal for December because if you know me, you'll know that I am obsessed with Christmas. My birthday is 5 days before Christmas, so it is a very festive and exciting month for me. I absolutely loved my December setup from last year and my theme was Christmas gonks, and I was really tempted to bring those back for this year, but I did want to do something different. So I looked around for some inspiration and of course I found it in somewhere random. I have a Christmas duvet set as I like to make my room all Christmassy, and the picture on the duvet is like a little Christmas village, so this is what I decided to go with as the theme. And then once I've decided on the basic theme that I'm going to be going with, I always head over to Pinterest or Instagram and just start browsing along the lines of the theme I'm going with. So this time it's of course the Christmas village, and this just helps me solidify what kind of characters I want to include, what doodles, maybe help me decide on a colour palette, and I just pull together all the inspiration and finally make it my own as I draw it out in my journal. So once I decided that my theme would be the Christmas village, I started thinking about what could go into this as additional pages, and when I was scrolling Instagram I came across a Christmas jumper by a company called Olive and Frank, and they had the car with the little Christmas tree on it and the presents on it, and I just thought this would make the perfect little quote and doodle page to go alongside the cover page. And then I started to think, with it being a Christmas village, you might be driving home for Christmas, and that's what we've done for this little quote page. So now you know a little bit about my process for finding some inspiration and what I do to help myself finalise my theme ideas in my mind before I start drawing them out. We can now get back to the drawing. So I've drawn out a car here with a Christmas tree on top. It's of course slightly different to the inspiration I've found, as you always want to try and make it your own as much as possible, but I just tried to stick with a simple car shape and a simple Christmas tree shape, just keeping all of those shapes very basic. Helps it be more obvious what you're trying to draw. For example, just a square with a ribbon going across it and the bow on top. It makes it very obvious what you're trying to draw there. Everyone knows it's a present. You don't need to be trying to do 3D and stuff. You can just keep it simple and it can still look really, really cute. And I really love when I've drawn little doodles like this and I get to colour them in. I find that the most fun part. Although these presents were quite small and a little bit fiddly, the super tips, obviously I love them, but a fine liner might be easier for this if you've got some coloured ones. And we can just ignore that bottom present because I clearly couldn't decide what design I was going to do, so we've got some very dodgy diagonal lines going on there, but you get the gist. But now to colour in the Christmas tree, and whenever you've got a slightly larger surface area to colour, I recommend trying to go around the outside edge, as this gives you a bit more of a buffer before you would go out of the lines if your colouring goes a bit crazy like mine does sometimes. And then I try my best to colour in straight lines to fill the space in between. I just find that this gives it a bit of a neater look without getting all the lines of the pen when you colour in. And I also think it works really, really well for something like a Christmas tree to indicate the lines of the branches and the leaves. Then I'm just grabbing my white Uniball Broad Signo for some snowy highlights, and that is it for this quote page. So now onto the cover page, and as I'm doing the Christmas village theme, I wanted my cover page to have a few little cute Christmassy houses, keeping it all fairly simple and minimalistic, just simple lines with a really thin pen. I'm using the 0.05 throughout on this one, and I just did different shaped houses, different sizes, some smaller ones and some wider ones, and each of them are going to have cute little chimneys with some smoke coming out the top to show that they've obviously got their fires on because it's all cozy and with the snow outside, which really adds to that Christmassy village theme, I think. Snow on the top of the roofs and on the chimneys, and I've also got one with some little Christmas lights around the roof, and I find just making a slight variation between each one just makes the whole thing look really cute, as they've each got their own bit of personality. They're slightly different. You can see that they might have been decorated by each of the different families that would live inside, but I have put a Christmas wreath on all of the doors just to bring a bit of Christmas spirit to the little neighbourhood. And then I've joined up the houses with a little bit of bunting, again just adding to the festive vibes. Then we've got a little mini calendar down at the bottom, mostly because I just had a bit of space, and I do actually find this really useful because I can flick back to the cover page if I want to see at a quick glance how many weeks are going to be in the month, whether it's worth creating an extra weekly spread or not, or if that weekly spread should move into the following month. just that sort of thing. I find it really useful. And I also put the initials for the days at the top as well, again just to help me know what date is going to be on which day, and I just find it helps me with planning in general, so maybe try it out if you've got a little bit of space left in your journal. Then for the December writing, I wanted it to have a kind of childlike font, so I made the letters really big and rounded, and I also coloured in any of the gaps in the letters just to add to that childlike look. As you can see, I then just added in a few little doodles around the space down at the bottom, just around the calendar. I've got a little snowman here, and the snowman was a perfect way for me to bring in a few of the different colours that I'd used on the opposite page. Again, just balancing the colours as I always try to do. So as I'd used the darker blue for the writing on the left, I wanted to incorporate a bit more of that dark blue over on the right. So I put that into the snowman's hat and used it for a few little snowflake doodles, and then I got to colouring the houses. So enjoy this little bit of colouring, and I'll see you on the next page. That is our cover page all complete. Now let's start on the mood tracker. I was loving that this set of spreads was a bit more illustrative, so I didn't want the mood tracker to detract from all of the drawings and stick out like a sore thumb. So I wanted to find a way to really incorporate it into the designs that I was planning to do anyway, and somehow find a way that it would fit into all of my little doodles without being really obviously a tracker. So the idea that I came up with was to draw some more of the little houses just like I'd done on the cover page, and I was going to use the windows as the mood trackers. So some of these are going to be really tiny, as I had to fit 31 windows into these two little houses, but I thought the fact that they would be small would make it more subtle and therefore go with the vibe that I was wanting, which was a bit more of a hidden mood tracker that if you were just flicking through my journal you might just think it's a little doodle. I then wanted to come up with a way to do the same sort of thing with the key, as I always like to have a key to show what colour I'll be using and what mood that will then represent. And as I was doodling, I thought maybe the baubles on the Christmas tree could work for this, so that's what I've done. As usual, I've just drawn little smiley faces to represent each of the emotions. We've got a really happy one, a normal happy one, a kind of straight face, a sad face, and then a really tired, exhausted face, because we all know that that is a big mood, especially around this time of year. So that's what I went for with the mood tracker key on this one, and I think it is really well hidden. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Is it well hidden? Would you just think this is just a normal doodle page? If so, then I have succeeded. If not, it doesn't really matter, I just kind of wanted to try it out. But as I had kind of gone down this route, I also wanted to do something similar for the title, just a really subtle way to have it written that it was a mood tracker without it being really obvious. So I had the idea of using a little mailbox out at the front of the houses. I decorated it with a ribbon and some fairy lights, and then I put a little letter inside the letterbox sticking out, and it says mood tracker on it. So I'm actually kind of impressed with myself for coming up with this idea, but again, let me know what you think. I think it's super cute, and let me know if you try it out. Then I coloured in my little houses again. I'm just trying to stick with the colour palette that I chose, which is a very muted, pastel-y kind of winter colour palette. I'm using a pale pinky, peachy orange kind of colour, a red, and then some very cold blues. And then for some little highlight colours, I've got a bit of a minty, dusky green, and also a darker green that I've been using for the trees. One of the best parts I find is actually trying to pick out the colours and then seeing it all come to life. You really have to try and visualise how it might look and if those colours are going to work well together. and I always recommend doing a little swatch on a bit of scrap paper just to see how the colours all look laid down on the paper together, and it is definitely something I am always doing, so give it a try and see if that helps you when you're picking out your colours next time. Then I chose the colours that I'm going to be using when I fill in the mood tracker, and whilst I chose colours from the colour palette, I also considered how they might look in the window. So these are the ones I ended up choosing, and then I just coloured in the rest of the tree and finished off the little bits of bunting that I needed to colour in. I was using the kind of main colours from this theme, which are going to be this peachy pink colour, the red, and the slightly lighter of the two dark blue shades. Then with this page on the right, I decided I want to continue the illustration that I'd started on the left with the mood tracker. Again, just to help add to this whole illustrative design that I'm going for, so it doesn't look too much like a tracker, just because I wanted to get a little bit more arty with this set of spreads. So I extended the design, and then I decided I would add in a gratitude log here. So I put the numbers down from 1 to 31 on the right hand side of the page, just giving each day half a line for me to write something that went well, something I was happy about, something I was grateful for, just a little sprinkle of positivity that I like to include in my journals whenever possible. And then I pretty much just had a bit of fun filling up the rest of this page. Any empty spaces I filled with some little doodles that I'd seen on Pinterest on my inspiration search, and then I just included them wherever they might fit. So I added in a little Santa and his reindeer up at the top, which I thought was super cute, a really minimalist type of drawing because I'm definitely not someone who's good at drawing people, so just really simple shapes. I'm also just trying to indicate who it is. So a big white beard, obviously the red hat, and using mitten type shapes for hands means you don't have to worry about hands which are notoriously difficult to draw. The reindeers look a little bit like sausage dogs, but I think it's kind of cute, so I'm not worried about that. And then I of course filled the sleigh with lots of little presents in those three main colours that I'd mentioned earlier that I've used for the bunting. Then here in the middle you'll see this blob, which is intended to be an ice skating rink. I did have to try my absolute best to draw these minimalist style people ice skating, which actually worked out really quite well. As much as I loved the idea, I was a bit worried that I wouldn't be able to pull it off, but I think it worked out. So if you want me to give a bit more of a tutorial on how I drew these little people, it's really simple, and I think it's such an easy way to add little people illustrations into your journal. They definitely don't need to be anatomically correct or anything, but just simple arm shapes, again the mitten style hands, and as these guys are ice skating, I added little ice skating boots, which was just a basic boot shape, two lines coming off of it with a line horizontally then underneath the boot that acted as the skate. On the images I was working from on Pinterest that had given me the idea to include this, they had lots of white lines really faintly in the background to indicate where the people had skated, and I thought this was such a perfect way to show that it's not like a lake, it is in fact an ice skating rink. So I just used my white gel pen to make some really faint lines and added in a few little snowflakes to be sure everyone can tell that this is an icy rink. Then finally I just used my three main theme colours to alternate the lines on the gratitude log. I did actually make a mistake and put the pink in the wrong place, but I managed to cover it perfectly with the red, so that was really lucky. But that was all I had left to do. I'm so happy with how it turned out in the end. And there we have it for my December setup, so I'm really happy with how this has turned out. I can't believe we are on the final month of 2022, and I'm really pleased that you can actually see quite a lot of progress as my themes have gone through the year. There will be a flip through coming very soon, but thank you all so much for watching. Special thanks goes to this week's subscriber shout out for Zuli. Thank you so much for always commenting lovely things on my videos. I really appreciate it. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I next upload, and I'll see you in the next one.